Good evening, you're now with me, Henry for TVS Nightline, and here are the headlines for tonight. Government urged to conduct re-delineation exercise for parliamentary seats in Sabah and Sarawak. Sarawak plays active role in Nusantara development by establishing state-owned entities in Kalimantan, Indonesia. Leo Varadkar steps down as Irish Prime Minister. Leo Varadkar on Wednesday announced that he was stepping down as Ireland's Prime Minister and leader of the Fine Gael party in the governing coalition. Varadkar cited his reasons for stepping down as both personal and political, suggesting that a new leader would be better placed to lead his party and the current governing coalition into the upcoming local and European elections of June. The surprise announcement was made at a press conference in Dublin.
Varadkar said his reasons for stepping down were both personal and political, suggesting that a new leader would be better placed to lead his party and the current governing coalition into the upcoming local and European elections of June.
So I am resigning as President and Leader of Fine Gael effective today, and will resign as Taoiseach as soon as my successor is able to take up that office. I've asked our Party General Secretary and Executive Council to provide for the new leader to be elected in advance of the Ardèche on Saturday, April 16th, thus allowing a new Taoiseach to be elected when the Dáil resumes after the Easter break.
Earlier this month, Varadkar was widely blamed for a twin defeat, including the biggest ever referendum loss by a government on proposals to reform references to women, the family and care in the Irish constitution. He said his centre-right Fine Gael party will have a leadership contest and that he will remain as premier until the new leader is elected after Parliament returns from recess next month. For the record, Varadkar, who had two spells as Prime Minister between 2017 and 2020 and again since December 2022, the 45 years old was the country's youngest ever leader when first elected.
State-owned entities and business companies have long been investing and establishing its presence in Kalimantan, Indonesia. Premier of Sarawak, Dato' Patinggi Tan Sri Ahmad Johari Tunoping said the long-standing partnership between the two regions is evident through the energy sector, which sees Sarawak playing an active role in the development of Nusantara.
Mengenai dengan Nusantara, memang kita sudah ada kerjasama untuk memberikan bantuan dalam pembangunan yang berlaku di Nusantara. Sebab itu pihak SEB telah melabur dalam jana kuasa di Melina, di Kalimantan Timur, di mana kita mempunyai pegangan saham 25% dalam pembangunan hidro, dan ini akan menjanakan tenaga kepada Kalimantan, dan ada cadangan pihak Indonesia akan mengembangkan lagi pembangunan hidro ini, dan kita akan terus sama-sama melaksanakan pembangunan di Nusantara.
He said this after officiating the handover ceremony of the Sumbangsih Raya 2024 event at Wisma Bapa Malaysia on Wednesday. Abang Johari was commenting on the remarks made by the Malaysian ambassador to Indonesia, Datuk Said Mat Hasrin Tengku Husin, who said that Malaysian companies should seize investment opportunities in East Kalimantan, particularly in Samarinda and Balikpapan near Indonesia's new capital city, Nusantara. The Premier added that the state, through the Sarawak Bumiputra Entrepreneurs Council and the Associated Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry of Sarawak, is in active engagements with the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry for potential business opportunities across various sectors.
Mereka sudah bermesyuarat dan mempunyai networking dari Kadim. Kadim ni adalah satu macam kita Chamber of Commerce di Kalimantan dengan DBS dan juga Chinese Chamber of Commerce di Sarawak untuk mereka menerokai bidang-bidang yang lain termasuklah mengeksportkan barangan kita dan juga kita mengimportkan barangan daripada Kalimantan.
Earlier, Abang Johari handed over 12,000 boxes of festive goodies to 11 security and enforcement agencies as a token of appreciation to the security and enforcement personnel who are on duty during the Hari Raya Aidilfitri celebration.
The government has been urged to conduct a redelineation exercise for parliamentary seats in Sabah and Sarawak to enhance economic growth and development in both states. Senator Pelly Peter Tinggum said this was important as it could promote infrastructure development in these areas through allocations provided to parliamentary constituencies, thereby expediting administrative processes. Pelly said the redelineation process needs to be done immediately, especially since the current unity government is supported by Sabah and Sarawak with a two-thirds majority in parliament. This, he said, is to rectify the necessity for a balanced prosperity as stipulated in the Federal Constitution and the Malaysian Agreement 1963 MA 63. The Governor of Sarawak Tun Pehin Sri Dr. Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar stands prepared to provide support in combating international job scam syndicates. According to Fanny Nolly, the Director of the Foreign Ministry's Sarawak Regional Office, the government can leverage Tun Dr. Wan Junaidi's expertise, particularly since Sarawak currently tops the list of states with the highest number of victims of such syndicates.
He was very concerned about that because he himself is aware. Because if you know that he was one of the main, led the Sarawak delegation that time, Sarawak team to rescue Sarawakian in Cambodia. I can't remember when was that. I think 2015. He shared that with me, and also he himself involved with lots of rescuing Sarawakians in overseas because of the job scam and overstays and a few others consular issues.
She said this when met after paying a courtesy call to Tun Dr. Wan Junaidi at Astana Negri earlier today. Meanwhile, Tun Dr. Wan Junaidi also urged his people to work together with the relevant agencies to address the job scam issue.
I'm planning to have this lecture in the pipeline. Perhaps I will start with UNIMAS first, and in May. And I also have someone asked me if I can do the same in for the UITM here. Of course, it's on the international and diplomacy's issues, but I will definitely rob in my personal experience of rescuing all these Malaysian and especially Sarawakians on this job scam.
Previously, Tun Dr. Wan Junaidi played a part in bringing home 47 Malaysian citizens who fell victim to a job scam in Cambodia on December 11, 2018. An overwhelming majority of those victims, 40 people, were Sarawakians. Meanwhile, Fanny divulged that Sarawak has documented the highest number of individuals victimized by overseas job scam syndicates. Thus, her team will work with Deputy Sarawak Premier Dato' Amar Dr. Sim Kui Hian and other ministers in order to tackle this alarming issue.
Sangat membimbangkan sebab Sarawak tersenarai tertinggi dalam carta rakyat Malaysia yang kena scam. Top 1. Top 1, the most yang paling ramai adalah orang-orang Sarawak yang kena job scam di sini. In fact, pertemuan saya dengan beberapa menteri, semalam saya berjumpa dengan Datuk Ahmad Douglas juga the same issue was raised also. And I also will work with Dato' Amar, Dr. Sim also in his group on this. And last time when I met with Dato' Sri Hajat Fatima also had the same issues on this matter.
Fanny said the salaries being offered are one of the reasons why people are easily deceived into becoming victims of the syndicate.
Bekerja di luar negeri ini tidaklah semanis yang ramai orang jangka. I think with Tun tadi dia kata it's like the nature of Sarawakian yang kerja offshore semua tu, mungkin itu merupakan mungkin salah satu faktor yang menarik orang-orang Sarawak untuk bekerja di luar negeri. Gaji besar tapi bila dikira dengan tambang kalau nak balik.
According to Fanny, the actual number of Malaysians who have fallen victims to overseas job scam syndicates is still unknown. But she estimates that over 1,000 victims are still stranded in Myanmar.
The second phase of the Darul HANAR relocation project is currently being implemented. According to the Premier of Sarawak, Dato' Patinggi Tan Sri Johari Tunopang, the project is slated for completion by 2026. The two villages being relocated in the second phase are Kampung Pulau Hilir and Kampung Panglima Seman Ulu.
Sekarang kita sedang membangun fasa kedua dan di mana Sungai Berdaun juga sedang dalam pembinaan.
When asked about the time frame for all residents under the Darul HANAR project to be relocated, Abang Johari disclosed that it will not happen anytime soon. He said the government is currently looking for another area for the relocation of extended families.
Kita akan mengenal pasti satu lagi kawasan untuk kita membangunkan dawahannya ini berdekatan dengan kampung yang ada sekarang.
He spoke after attending the Darul HANAR iftar ceremony where he and his wife, Dato' Amar Jumaani Tun Tuan Kubujang, handed raya donations worth 19,500 ringgit to 130 asnaf and orphans, courtesy of the Land Custody and Development Authority LCDA. Abang Johari also witnessed the handing over of business zakat from LCDA to Tabung Baitul Mal Sarawak TVS, amounting to over 1.9 million ringgit.
The National Energy Transition Road Plan NETR is a long-term investment which involves huge initial expenditure. Thus, Deputy Dean of Research and Commercial, Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Malaysia Sarawak UNIMAS, Professor Dr. Ivan Laupohok said, it is necessary for the financial institutions to view the outcome for the future and continuity of the nation's development.
It's not just for 2-3 years down the road. This is for a decade or more than that, because you want to invest in something for the future. You want to build a hub, you want to build a hydrogen hub, for example, or any of this renewable energy initiative. This is not just a talk in a coffee shop, but this is something should be initiated right now, and this is what the government are doing. And moving forward, perhaps the nearest we can see the outcome will be from 2030 onwards. So that's the long term.
According to The Economist, the first phase of NETR targeted up to 2025 would involve other states in Malaysia, other than Sarawak, which has pioneered the sustainable energy transition industry via its hydrogen project. Therefore, he urged the government to identify the strengths and potential of each state in the country and contribute to the initiative.
They would have to identify, the states have to identify what are the strengths in terms of this transitioning into greener energy or economy itself, and from there you can enhance them. So despite that, whether they are small or big.
His Majesty Sultan Ibrahim, King of Malaysia, presented letters of appointment to 4 new heads of diplomatic mission of Malaysia during a ceremony held at Istana Negara today. The newly appointed Malaysian representatives to foreign countries include Malaysia's ambassador to South Korea, Dato' Muhammad Zamruni Khalid, and Malaysia's ambassador to France, Dato' Eldin Huzaini Muhammad Hashim.
Also receiving letters of appointment are Malaysia's ambassador to Cambodia, Shaharuddin On, and Malaysia's High Commissioner to Nigeria, Ayub Omar. Sultan Ibrahim also graciously accepted the letters of credence from the new foreign representatives to Malaysia, namely the ambassador of the Philippines, Maria Angela Abrera Pons, the ambassador of Uzbekistan, Karumiddin Gadov, the ambassador of Iran, Valiullah Muhammadi Nasrabadi, and the ambassador of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Dr. Edin Shahik. Additionally, the High Commissioner of Australia, Danielle Haynick, the Ambassador of the United States of America, Edgar D. Kagan, the High Commissioner of Tanzania, Dr. Mahadi Juma Malim, the Ambassador of Kyrgyzstan, Anvar Anabaev, and the Ambassador of Colombia, Alejandro Roseli Londono, were also among those presenting their letters. Present at the ceremony was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Datuk Seri Muhammad Hassan.
Currently, there are 2,020 operational electric vehicle charging stations nationwide. Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Abdul Aziz, reiterated that Malaysia's goal of having 10,000 EV charging stations by next year in 2025 remains intact, although a reassessment of this target will be determined during the upcoming Malaysian National EV Steering Committee meeting.
Although the target seems bold, Tengku Zafrul has been assured by the industry players that it can be done, as proven by data showing that as of last month, the number has surpassed the 2,000 mark. Tengku Zafrul added that on the government's part, various incentives and initiatives are offered to EV industry players to ensure that the targets set are achievable. Meanwhile, Tengku Zafrul expressed the government's appreciation for Tesla's significant expansion in Malaysia. Since July of last year, the car manufacturer has introduced the eagerly awaited Model Y and Model 3 to the domestic market, inaugurated the country's inaugural supercharger, and established both the Tesla Experience Center and its Malaysian headquarters in Cyberjaya. In the second quarter of this year, Tesla intends to broaden its charging network by installing new facilities in strategic locations, including Kuantan, Penang, Putrajaya, and Kuala Lumpur.
The online safety bill is being drafted and set to be presented in the upcoming parliamentary season. Deputy Minister of Communications, Teo Nee Ching, stated that the process of drafting this bill involved meetings and discussions with various parties to ensure it aligns with the needs and realities of internet usage.
Jemaah Menteri telah buat keputusan bahawa sekarang Kementerian Komunikasi bersama denganlah Bayu di bawah Jabatan Perdana Menteri tengahlah mengkaji keperluan untuklah mewujudkan Online Safety Act. Itu memang sudah jawatan kuasa telah diwujudkan dan kami memang telah mulakan mesyuarat kita dan juga perbincangan kita untuklah wujudkan satu Online Safety Act. Kalau ada kemungkinan bahawa rang-undang tersebut bolehlah dibawa ke Parlimen untuklah kelulusan Parlimen pada sidang yang akan datang ini. Jadi ini memang merupakan tengah diusahakan.
She responded to a question from Tumpat Member of Parliament, Datuk Muntaz Matnawi, during the Minister's Q&A session in Parliament on Tuesday. Teo said law enforcement would also be strengthened by introducing facilities for filing First Information Reports or FIR online to facilitate authorities in investigating content that violates Malaysian laws posted or uploaded on the internet. She also informed that the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission MCMC is considering proposals to introduce licensing for online service providers, including social media and internet messaging services. She said this step aims to enhance online safety by emphasizing strict assessment criteria for obtaining licenses.
Malaysia has undergone rapid urbanisation over the past 3 decades. According to Chief Statistician Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Uzair Mahidin, the rate of urbanisation rose to 75.1% in 2020, which led to improved quality of life and life expectancy of the country's population, as per the study conducted in 2023's edition of the Malaysia Social Statistics Review, MSSR.
Uzair said Malaysia's urbanisation has tremendously progressed, whereby in 1970, the rate was only 28.4%, and then later in 1991, where it increased to 50.7%. To determine the rate of urbanisation accurately, MSSR has 11 focus topics, which encompasses population and demography, consumer price index, employment, health, transportation, household income and expenditure, internet and social media, environment, tourism, Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs), and Malaysian Happiness Index (MHI). In 1970, the nation's population stood at 10.4 million, which then gradually grew to 27.5 million in 2010 and 32.4 million in 2020, threefold of that in 1970. But in 2020, population growth has started to decline with an annual growth rate of 1.7% compared to 3.9% in 1970. Conclusively, Malaysia's demographic shift, he said, is highly dependent on four factors: fertility rate, death rate or life expectancy, age structure or distribution between young and old, and migration. Meanwhile, Uzair said the life expectancy for a baby born in 1970 is up to 63.6 years on average, while those born in 2023 is expected to live up to an average of 74.8 years. Another factor to consider is the gender of the baby, whereby on average, baby girls are expected to live longer than baby boys, with an increase in life expectancy of 11.8 years as compared to 10.9 years for boys for the period from 1970 to 2023. Meanwhile, on employment, the MSSR reported that the country's labor force recorded an average increase of 2.7% per year, from 12.3 million persons in 2010 to 16 million in 2022. The percentage of employed persons was 61.6% in 2010 and increased to 65.3% in 2020, 65.4% in 2021, and 66.5% in 2022. As for health, the number of government hospitals nationwide grew during the period of 2010 to 2022 from 131 hospitals to 160, while the number of private hospitals increased slightly from 254 to 257 hospitals since 2010. The doctors to population ratio in Malaysia, meanwhile, showed an improvement during the period from 2010 to 2022, from a ratio of 1 doctor per 859 people in 2010 to 1 doctor per 412 people in 2022.
Intense rainfall struck the displaced Gazan camp in the southern city of Rafah, causing Palestinian children to struggle to distinguish between thunder and Israeli bombardment. Numerous residents have fallen ill as rainwater seeped through the tents, soaking both them and their possessions as they attempted to mend their makeshift homes with whatever materials they could gather.
One Gazan expressed that her children screamed in fear upon hearing the sound of rain and thunder, mistaking it for Israeli strikes. Another Gazan, hailing from Khan Yunis, shared that her children had developed a psychological fixation on rockets, as nearly every sound, even the flutter of a tent flap in the wind, evoked the fear of rockets in their minds. The ongoing conflict, now in its 6th month, has caused widespread devastation in Gaza, forcing hundreds of thousands to flee their homes in search of safety. Presently, an estimated 1.5 million Palestinians reside in Rafah, the majority being displaced from other areas of the Gaza Strip, living amidst a vast expanse of makeshift tents. Warnings from the United Nations and international aid organizations indicate that hundreds of thousands of people are on the verge of famine. According to the Gaza Health Ministry, Israel's relentless airstrikes, ground operations, and naval bombardments in the Gaza Strip have resulted in the deaths of at least 31,819 individuals, predominantly women and children. In another development, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office announced that a delegation would visit Washington at the request of U.S. President Joe Biden to discuss the planned assault, which the United States opposes. The delegation will be led by Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant as pressure mounts to call off a planned offensive in Gaza's Rafah. According to a statement from a U.S. defense official, the discussions will center on efforts to secure the release of all hostages held by Hamas, the necessity for increased humanitarian aid to reach Palestinian civilians, and strategies to ensure the safety of over 1 million people seeking shelter in Rafah.
All 12 bodies were pulled from the collapsed coal pit in southern Pakistan today, bringing the rescue effort to an end. Early on Tuesday evening, a gas explosion rocked the private coal pit in the mining region of Kosht, trapping the workers about 244 meters below ground.
2 bodies were recovered during the night, with the remaining 10 retrieved early in the morning. Abdullah Shahwani, Balochistan's Director General of Mining, also confirmed the death toll and said initial reports suggest the incident was caused by methane gas. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif issued a statement expressing profound sorrow and grief over the loss of precious lives. It was initially thought that there were only 10 miners involved in the cave in about 80 kilometers east of Quetta city. Rescue workers from the government mining department and the disaster management agency toiled through the night to reach them. A group of 8 people who were attempting to rescue their colleagues also became trapped for several hours, but were later brought to safety by a government rescue team, some of them unconscious. Deadly incidents are not uncommon in Pakistan's mines, which are known for hazardous working conditions and poor safety standards. Balochistan is Pakistan's largest but poorest province and is rich in natural resources which locals have long complained are not shared fairly among their communities.
5 people were unaccounted for after a South Korea-flagged chemicals tanker with 11 people on board capsized in rough seas off Japan on Wednesday. The Coast Guard said 6 members of the crew, which included 2 South Koreans, 8 Indonesians and 1 Chinese, had been rescued so far, and the Coast Guard is still searching for the remaining 5.
Footage showed the overturned red hull of the ship, as well as a life raft, as a Coast Guard ship pounded through heavy waves and a helicopter flew overhead. The crew notified the Coast Guard early on Wednesday that the vessel was tilting and requested help near the island of Mutsure off Japan's southwestern coast. A Coast Guard spokesman said he was not aware of the conditions of those rescued who were rushed to hospital. He added the tanker was carrying acrylic acid, but there is no information just yet whether that has leaked into the ocean. Japanese broadcast NHK named the vessels as the Kyoyang Sun, which is a chemical and oil products tanker built in 1996, measuring 69 meters in length.
14 people were killed while 37 others injured after a bus crashed inside an expressway tunnel in northern China. State media reported that the accident occurred shortly after 2:30 p.m. local time Tuesday. The bus, which was carrying 51 people, rammed into the tunnel's interior wall, and the cause of the incident is now under investigation. State news agency Xinhua confirmed the death toll and injured in a separate report without providing details on the severity of the survivors' conditions. Road accidents are common in China due to a lack of strict safety controls. In February last year, 16 people were killed and dozens more injured in a pileup in central Hunan province. See the world closer with TVS as we bring you the latest news updates both locally and internationally. For more headlines anytime, anywhere, just head on to our official website at tvsarawak.my or follow us on our social media platforms. Those were the updates on TVS Nightline. I'm Handy Gui. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.